All right, we will get rolling. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to AI Academy. And no PM presentation would be complete without a safe harbor statement. So any functionality that I speak about today will be based on our most recent March release. If there is any forward-looking statements, I will explicitly call that out, but any purchasing decisions should be made on existing product functionality. As a reminder, we have some resources for AI Academy. We have the Generative AI Intelligence Community. We have our now community YouTube videos that you can access as well. I'll share these links with you in the chat shortly. Just some basics about AI Academy. We designed these sessions to provide you folks with fresh ideas, to go deeper, and to provide practical guidance. These sessions are being recorded, so you will be able to view them subsequently to the call, and we will have Q&A. I will break at certain points throughout the presentation just to check for questions in line, but I have set aside 5 minutes at the end of the presentation specifically for questions and answers. So welcome to AI Academy. The topic of our today is external content connectors in AI search. My name is Andre Ramsaran. I'm an outbound product manager in our generative AI practice group, and I'm happy to be talking to you about this topic. We have a quick and action-packed agenda. We're going to spend 15 minutes talking about AI search and external content connectors. We'll lay the foundational knowledge that you will need to understand the technology and how you can deploy it within your environment. I'll do a demo both from a user experience as well as from an admin experience, and then we will wrap it up with Q&A. So let's start off with AI search. AI search is ServiceNow's enterprise search strategy. It is a generalized framework for search experiences, and there's a number of ways, a number of technologies that get infused into AI search. So when you do a AI search, you're performing a standard search, let's say in a portal or from a workspace. But in addition to that, we have infused Now Assist into AI search. With Now Assist, you can generate summaries of knowledge articles or perhaps service catalog offerings. You can also surface virtual agent topics. So there's a generative AI aspect to AI search. In addition to that, AI search is personalized. We are aware of the person's role and their security settings, their location, and most recently, we're starting to infuse Knowledge Graph into AI search. So Knowledge Graph enables you to infuse contextual information, perhaps specific information about the user's geography or assets that they may have, or who they report to, or whom reports to them. And you can infuse that information into the search experience to provide more contextual, personalized response. And then, of course, our topic of discussion for today is how is it that you can infuse external content, whether that content may be coming from SharePoint, Confluence, or Google Drive, or any number of connectors that we have within our environment. So really, AI search is that enterprise search experience. It is that ability to unify the search experience across by leveraging different components. So let's start off with some basics about what is AI search. So the source information for AI search typically is information that lives on the ServiceNow platform. So this could be articles, catalog items, incidents, cases, etc. But you can also ingest external content, and that will be our topic of today. Now, regardless of what information you're talking about, native tables or external content, this information gets populated into the AI search index. And this index is actually a separate storage mechanism from your core ServiceNow instance. We do have very purposeful storage for AI search indices, and that enables us to provide better performance, parallel querying, lower latency. And in addition to that, the AI in the AI search has to do with how we monitor end users' behavior with the search indexes. So when an end user types in a statement, such as what is spam, there is machine learning that is monitoring how they interact with the search results. Are they choosing the top search results? Are they choosing the suggested responses on the side? Are they modifying their search queries, etc.? And not only are we looking at that from an individual search perspective, but we're aggregating those signals across many users. And every 30 days, we gather that information and we use that information to improve the machine learning models against those AI search indices. And this is what feeds into what we call our relevancy model, which helps return more accurate results. In addition to this, AI search can be exposed on a number of different experiences. It can be exposed in the global search, which happens in the top right corner of your ServiceNow window. It can also be exposed in service portals. This would be for employees or customer requesters. It can be exposed on now mobile devices, now mobile application rather. And virtual agent is also a very prevalent experience that we expose AI search results. This is where the VA is able to synthesize responses in response to a user's query. And then finally, workspaces as one of the primary interfaces is also where we expose AI search. So let me quickly take you through the day in the life of a search or the anatomy of a search. So when a user logs in, we are aware of their security context, so we know what ACLs and roles they're associated with. We also know any internationalization settings. When they type in a query in the standard search box, we are performing what's called a lexical search. So this is a straightforward keyword matching, and you get a list of results at the bottom. This will use things such as word frequency and word proximity to determine the most relevant pieces of information. This can also be exposed via virtual agent. The virtual agent uses a different search pipeline than the standard search. It uses a pipeline whereby it may look at information that is lexical information, but it can also look at hybrid search information as well. With regards to the search results, you do have the ability to influence the search results. You can boost, block, or promote information based on different what we call result improvement rules. You can also expose mixed content in your search results. So it could be a catalog or a knowledge article. But in addition to that, it could also be external content, which is the topic of today's conversation. And then finally, we have what we call Genius result cards, which are synthesized information in response to the user's query. Now, in addition to the lexical search patterns that I just spoke about, there is another retrieval mechanism within AI search, which is called our retrieval augmented generation. And this is where a user types in the query, and we might rewrite the query. So if it is a second or a third query, and we have additional context, we may rewrite that query. That rewritten query gets sent to what we call our embedding model. And in that embedding model, we perform what's called a semantic search. This is the ability to search for information based on the meaning of the information, and we retrieve chunks of data from the most relevant knowledge articles or catalog items, or in this case, external content. And then what the system does is we collate the semantic results with the keyword results, and we generate what we call a relevancy re-ranker. And this is the information that gets passed to the now large language model in order to generate the result cards that appear at the top of the search results. So when you think about the search experience, there are two different mechanisms at play. There's the straightforward lexical search, and there's what we refer to as hybrid search, which is using the RAG retrieval method. So that's a little bit of foundational knowledge about how AI search works in general. Before we hop into external content connectors specifically, I will just check to see if there's any questions. Can we integrate other tables or modules? Can we integrate other tables or modules like contract or HRMS or finance workspace? You can integrate other tables of information as a source into AI search, and then you can choose what experiences those sources get exposed via. That's what you would do via, we call the search application definition. Does the machine learning every 30 days work with AI search if you are not using AI search in NLU? Mary, I'll have to get back to that question. I think I just need a couple, I need to noodle on that a little bit. So I will just parking lot that for a moment. Please use Q&A button and not chat to ask your questions. Okay, thank you, Jason. Excellent. All right, so with the foundation of AI search kind of laid, let's talk about external content connector. So external content connector is the mechanism of infusing external content into the search experience. And when you have an external content connector, that information will go natively into the AI search indexes. The other aspect of external content connector is this is the replatforming of the Raytion connectors. So ServiceNow did an acquisition of Raytion, and we replatformed that technology, and now it's manifesting itself as external content connectors. And then the third data point here is that external content connectors is our new framework for ingesting external content, as opposed to older integration hub spokes-based approaches that you may be familiar with. So when we introduced this in January, we introduced some pre-configured connectors for SharePoint Online and Confluence. We have a plan of introducing over 26 connectors throughout the year. So we have a very high velocity and aggressive roadmap in that respect. And really, external content connectors simplifies the admin experience. So we're moving from dozens and dozens of setup steps to just a handful of steps to get them up and running. And we also offer admins the flexibility in terms of how do they define what is being crawled, when it's being crawled, how frequently it's being crawled, etc. So this was our original release in the January timeframe. From a safe harbor perspective, in the May timeframe, we are releasing some additional connectors. So we're releasing Google Drive, Jira, Teams. We're also going to be ingesting ServiceNow documentation. So within AI search, you could search ServiceNow documentation. And web crawler is very interesting because web crawler is the ability to point external content connectors to your domain and have your domain be indexed and then appear natively within AI search. In addition to that, in the May timeframe, there are several experiences that the external content connectors will get exposed via. There is the standard AI search and VA experience. There's the Now Assistant AI search, so that's the Genius result card at the top. There is the VA synthesized response. So when you type in a question in VA and you get the synthesized response, it will appear in there. And there is the new dynamic window experience where you will also see AI search get exposed. So if you're not familiar with these experiences, I'll just quickly flash them up for you here. This is the standard experience. So if you type in a query, you will get a tab, for example, for SharePoint Online. So AI external content will get exposed in the standard search experience. It will get exposed in the Genius result card. It will appear as a citation. And when you click on the numerical number for the citation, then it will reference the external content. And then you would be able to click on that external content to pop over to that. This is what it would look like potentially in the synthesized response. Again, that's the number that I was talking about. And the citations could appear down below. And then finally, and this is kind of an exciting experience that's coming out in May, this is what we're referring to as our dynamic window experience. And I'll let this loop through so you get a sense of this. When we go through the loop, you'll notice that the person is typing in a question about booking travel. So in a moment, when the animated GIF loops through, you'll see what I'm talking about. So at the top of the screen, they're going to type in, I want to book travel. They will get a synthesized response. So that's using the hybrid search. They could potentially choose catalog items or VA topics, or they could ask a follow-up question. And really what's happening here is we're moving from simply a ask a question, get us a list of results. We're moving towards a more conversational search experience. So this is a kind of fluid experience that users are used to seeing in the consumer world, and we're bringing that to our service portals. So the way that this appears is it appears in the bottom corner as a virtual agent conversation. And then what you have the ability to do is you can float it and move it around the screen. You can pop it into a full modal view, and then you can interact with it in that conversational manner. I see some hearts there. I'm also very excited about it. I think it's an exciting new capability and a nice new experience for our users. Okay, so I have been speaking a bit. Let me just do a quick, I see 19. I'm trusting that my colleagues are helping out with the questions. Let me just do a quick glance. So AI search requires Now Assist licensing. So AI search is our foundational. You can have AI search without Now Assist, but in order to have the virtual agent synthesized response, the Genius Q&A result card, and the new dynamic experience, that does require Now Assist licensing. Is Knowledge Graph really its own structure or text to SQL LLM prompting the ServiceNow database? Anonymous. Good question. So Knowledge Graph, you can think of Knowledge Graph as being a data abstraction layer that lives on top of data that exists in the ServiceNow system tables. But what Knowledge Graph is really doing is it's gathering that contextual information and it is infusing it into the experience that the user is currently in. So in the VA situation, it could be providing personalized response. In the future, in AI search, it will also infuse it with personalized response. But knowledge graphs are going to be used in other areas as well, such as skill kit, as well as AI agents, etc. So knowledge graph really does provide that nuanced contextual information to the end user experience. Will AI search work if we do not share data for Now Assist? Do not share data for Now Assist. Maybe I need more context to that. I'm interpreting that as the is that the opt-in? Justin, maybe I'll come back to that. Maybe perhaps I'm not understanding the question correctly. Does the machine learning every 30 days work with? I'll come back to that question with the AI search and NLU. For hybrid search, what product enables the hybrid search capability? So the hybrid search capability is enabled with Now Assist. So when you get Now Assist, you get that RAG retrieval capability, and it is used in the Genius result card generation, in the VA synthesized response, and things of that nature. Could we integrate other data tools like Jira or internal data to retrieve data using AI search? Previously you could use, we had an integration hub-based, spoke-based way of doing such integrations. However, it required quite a bit of a heavy admin lift and configuration. So when I show you the demo, you will see how that has been greatly simplified. So I think I'll hop over to the demo right now. And I will actually start off from the end user experience. So the first thing about the demo here is we have a sample SharePoint tenant, and you'll notice that we have some sample documents, some 401k, some jokes and haikus. And here we are in a portal experience, and we're happen to be in the service portal. And I'll be very boring, and I'll just do a quick kind of wildcard search. And this is a standard search. And when we do the standard search, you'll notice that we have all results, knowledge, catalog items. So that's the ability to have mixed content. But in addition to that, you'll notice that we have what we call search facets on the side. All of this is configurable in AI search. And you'll also notice that we have the external content. So there is some SharePoint material that has been indexed by the system and exposed there. Now, let's say that instead of just looking at the results there, let's say that we searched for some jokes and haikus. you'll notice that we got the results, and this is telling us that it's SharePoint. It's giving an icon. And then if I click on the icon over here, it'll actually pop you over to the source SharePoint document, right? And in this first SharePoint document, what did the Zen Buddhist say to the large language model? Do not seek the answer, just be the prompt, as an example. So that's what it looks like for the end user experience from the service portal. What I want to do is I want to hop over and show you what the admin experience looks like a little bit, because this is kind of where the magic, the rubber meets the road to a certain degree. So if you come in here into Filter Navigator and you were to type in external content connector admin home, this is where you would find the admin console. And you notice that we have a number of external content connectors. We'll go into the SharePoint external content connector. Now, when you set up the SharePoint content connector, there will be some licensing keys and some encryption certificates that you will set up, and that will all be done on the SharePoint site. I'll explain on the SharePoint side. I'll explain that in a bit more detail in a moment. But essentially, this is what creates the handshake between the ServiceNow connector and your source system. You will define whether you want to crawl the entire SharePoint site or whether you want to crawl specific subsites. You do have the ability to set up certain filters. Perhaps you want to only crawl PDF files or and exclude, Excel or Word documents and things of that nature. So there is the ability to define what file types may or may not be filtered. You have the ability to create a crawl, and you can create a one-time crawl. So this could be a full document crawl or a partial crawl. If you do a partial crawl, you can specify the site that you would crawl. And then you can also see the crawl history. So I did a crawl just a little while ago, and you can see which documents were crawled, what new documents were crawled, etc. You can drill in and you would be able to see any errors that occurred, etc. And then finally, and perhaps a good segue to the next part of our conversation, has to do with user permissions. We do a crawling of user definition. So it's based on email address. On the external system, there will be an email address, and that email address gets mapped to an email address within ServiceNow. And this is where we have the security hook, because based on the email mappings, we're able to map the user to a group and the ACLs. And this is where we will determine which documents a user may or may not be able to search on. So let me hop over here. I'm going to go quickly through these because these are largely a repeat of what you've just seen on the admin experience. We're going to go quickly through there, and there's one specific slide about data security that I want to spend some time on. But there's essentially 4 steps when you set this up. Step number 1 is the source system. This is where the majority of the clicking and pointing will occur. There's many sub-steps that you have to perform on the source system. Once you've done that, the actual steps of setting up the configuration within the admin console is pretty straightforward. As I just showed you, you can set up the configuration, the handshaking, the crawling, you can review, you can do the user mappings. And then once this occurs, it natively gets hooked into AI search. So it creates an index source and a search application. And these are just standard AI search constructs that exist. At this point, we're treating the external content as if it was native content pretty much. So just to quickly walk you through there, these are the number of steps that you would have to do on the Azure side: registering the application, enabling the API, granting consent for ServiceNow to crawl the SharePoint tenant, and then uploading the certificate. We went through these connection settings, and you can also crawl the entire site or the subsite. And this is the slide that I want to spend a little time on. This has to do with how data ingestion works. Oops, sorry, wrong slide. This one. Okay, so you have your external SharePoint tenant. Now, a SharePoint tenant may have multiple sites. And then what we do is we have our ServiceNow connector definition. And via the admin console, you are setting up all the different attributes, such as the user mappings, the metadata, etc. Now, when we perform a crawl, what ServiceNow is doing is it's going to go and launch a scheduled job, and it will start crawling these documents. If it is a text or HTML document, we will natively ingest that into the AI search index. If it's a binary document, like a Word document, an Excel, or a PDF, we will extract that information using Kubernetes. We have a cluster that will spin up dynamically, and we will extract that information and take the text from the binary document and ingest that natively into the AI search index. Now, the reason why I wanted to bring up this is it's very important to note that we are not copying the source documents over into ServiceNow. We're simply performing an extraction of, we're abstracting information off of those documents and indexing that natively within AI search. And this is very critical because the keepers of your SharePoint tenants or your source systems will be very reluctant and very concerned about, is the data being copied over? Are the documents being copied over? And the answer to that, it is not. Nor is there any lasting impression or data at rest during this process of doing the extraction. So I think we are close to time. These last couple slides are just about the user mappings. Specifically, you may want to note that there is a security role that is required in order to be able to view and see the user mapping data. As I mentioned, it hooks into your AI search index and your AI search profile. This is all regular AI search administrative experiences. And then finally, you have the ability to test it via what we call a preview test console. So you can navigate to AI search preview, and you can specify the profile and perform the testing there. So that was a lot.